question of who one is. They were Americans, these white people, and it never seemed to occur to them, and certainly no one ever indicated to them, that they should think otherwise. Many black people, of course, are exempt from this question of who they are, too, by virtue of living and working largely or wholly among other blacks. But if a person's life and interests take him, as mine have taken me, to places where he looks different from most others, that person may begin to ask where the similarities between himself and these others end, and the differences, beyond the obvious one, begin. What the basis for these similarities is, and what the basis for the differences is, and into which camp, similarity or difference, nationality falls. And with regard to the very question of whether nationality constitutes a bond or barrier between one's self and others, the basis of this question is an unspoken assumption that runs so deep, that is reinforced so often and in so many ways, that I passed 3 decades of life on earth before I questioned it. The assumption? That being American means being white. At best, the place of blacks in all this seemed to be the one described by the comedian Chris Rock, who said that for us, America is like the uncle who molested you and then paid for your college education. As much as I would like to say that I began to question that assumption on my own, I had help. It was the work of the essayist Stanley Crouch, which in turn led me to the work of his mentor, and soon to be mine, Albert Murray, that opened my eyes. Murray's books, beginning with The Omni-Americans, proposed an alternate view, that America, rather than being simply a white monster that feeds on people of color, and that only the most self-hating of dark-skinned folks would identify with, is in fact largely a black creation, in terms of everything from culture to physical labor, and that the blood, sweat, and investment of generations of blacks makes America our home as much as it is anyone's. According to this view, the struggles blacks have historically faced have provided the obstacles over which we demonstrated the ability to triumph. As Murray wrote in The Omni-Americans, the legendary exploits of white U.S. backwoodsmen, keel boatmen, and prairie schoonermen become relatively safe when one sets them beside the breathtaking escapes of the fugitive slave beating his way south to Florida, west to the Indians, and north to faraway Canada through swamp and town alike, seeking freedom. Nobody was chasing Daniel Boone. To say, I am an American, then, is not an act of capitulation. The first step toward claiming one's birthright, recognizing the setting of one's ancestors' triumphs and adventures. It is tantamount to saying, I am home. The symbol for this idea, the art form that allows me to celebrate this notion of laying claim to a home, birthright, and identity, is jazz. The basis of jazz, a black contribution to American and world culture, is improvisation. A metaphor for the story of black Americans who have historically had to make a way where none existed before, a way that brought about both the Underground Railroad and the Civil Rights Movement. Every time a jazz musician improvises a passage, he or she celebrates this history. I embraced the sound and what it stood for. The fleet-footed sweetness of the alto saxophonist Julian Cannonball Adderley. The crusty vulnerability of Ben Webster's tenor sax. The spare melancholy of Miles Davis's trumpet. The sheer might of the original tenor man, Coleman Hawkins. The beautiful eccentricity of Thelonious Monk's piano. The deceptive laziness of Billie Holiday's voice. The doggedness and inventiveness of the young Freddie Hubbard as he played trumpet lines over and through the thundering drum beats of Art Blakey. The doggedness.